It is. All right, so we're clearly broadcasting for a few, I think it's just us because most people are at work, but it's good for our members to be able to tune in and see what's going on. Just some updates. I know that our PERC unit clarification hearing officer needs more information. I saw just that email yesterday, so I had responded and we'll continue to work on that. The good news is that that's moving. We just gotta, it's like a little bit of cleanup.
Okay.
We've made all initial language proposals and we've reached our tentative agreement on compensation. And hopefully today we'll get the language done. I know down in number 3, I had that placeholder for the annual financial report, but I do know you sent that to me, so you can strike that.
Okay, good.
So, what I have today, you know, I kind of tried to combine what you all had last time. And if you haven't, we can maybe do like we did last time, like we'll move along, and if you have something that lines up, we'll go from there.
Okay.
I have 10 here too.
That, which is good, because I do. I want to be able to put it in our binder. Please, sir.
So, all right. I redid the cover page, and we may want to just, we could probably even put that to the back, but you'll see that I made a note there that, you know, this, I know due to some delays in bargaining in the past, and you all had reached tentative agreement on the ESP contract, and were ready to go, and things got delayed due to impasse and, you know, all of that, COVID, everything kind of piling up. So there is some desire on this side to do a 2-year agreement to stagger the 2 contracts so that we're not every 3 years doing full books. So the proposal is to have this be a 2-year agreement. So that gives us a chance if we're going to reopen in 2 years and then get back on the 3-year cycle. So, but we can talk more about that.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
The end of the dates.
And I think as we go through this, you know, we've gone through the contract a couple times now, right? And there will be things as we go through that I'll want to still say hold, and I don't mean hold, like I'm really hopeful that we'll get through this entire thing today. But there may be something that like this that I want to hold so that when we caucus, we can discuss that. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Johnny and I were talking that, you know, a lot of progress has been made on this contract, but we know there's some discrepancies, and that may give us a chance to kind of like, with everything we've been doing with both full books at this time on a very, I think a good pace of work. Will give us a chance to let's just focus on one. So we could just kind of like at the end, because the last page in the packet feels
talks about that.
Stuff, so.
And I know I had brought it up as a concern as well, and obviously doing both of the books here, and then not that that's your issue, but we're also doing HSEF's book, so it's been a lot.
Yeah, and so I think that that happens sometimes. You know, due to unforeseen circumstances.
Correct.
So okay, so the next page here, page 2, I believe, so we had done a TA for the para unit, and we had included the campus safety monitor, I think, in the para unit. So there's a little note there that question mark para or clerical, with the campus safety monitor is in the para or the clerical. I had put it here originally because I think it was on the list, but then when we brought it up last time, I think we may have just thought, oh, it's in the para unit. So and we didn't have a TA that I could find on this clerical unit list.
Okay.
So that's there to.
So are you proposing that it goes in the para unit? Where's assistant teacher?
Assistant teacher would be in, if you look on the next page, page 3 and 4, and you'll see some notes there. Like I know on page 4 we had already TA'd.
We had,
but on our notes we had handwritten in campus safety monitor. When I was looking back, I said, we had campus safety monitor in the clerical. And when I put these lists together, they were based on what had originally been shared. So if you need some time to look at that, it doesn't really, I don't think there's, in my opinion, any I just want to make sure it's correct. Is all.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
So that was why this page is there, to just do another look over for and again, I'm not striking those people to remove them. I did put it in a new format in the document, so it's a little easier to manage.
Yeah, I know. I like the new format. I think that's good.
It did remove some that I don't think it removed. I think it's adding. maybe put them in a better order. Anyway, so that's there to look at. And I caught that campus safety monitor, and then so we need to figure out if they're in the para unit or the clerical unit.
Thinking of what their job description is, I would think they would be more aligned to where like an assistant teacher would be.
Okay.
But that's just, you know,
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe I can find the job description online even, and.
the online is back up from what I understand,
Okay.
because it had gone down during the
Yeah.
cybersecurity incident.
Well, and maybe too during caucus, I feel like,
Okay.
because I do have all those files that you sent with all the,
Yeah.
the lists. So.
Okay. All right, so we'll hold to verify.
Yeah. All right, the next page I think should be pretty easy. We had TA'd 1.2.3. We TA'd group B where we corrected the 14 to 15. Yes. But this list of the group B, I couldn't find a TA in my documents, so I didn't know if we could TA the ATOSS aid, parent liaison aid, vocational aid, that little group there.
Yes.
For the group B. Okay.
Yes.
I think we had that too, and just didn't
have. Oh, I didn't bring my bag.
No, I gave you Post-its.
I know, I left my bag down because I was like, I don't need to carry this thing up. Perfect.
All right. So on page 4, we had previously TA'd that table. We
Yes.
can, when we do our research, we can go back, I can pull that TA out, so we need to cross off the campus aid, our campus.
I mean, we're in agreement. We just want it to be accurate.
Yeah, that's
Like
all, yeah. So the only thing on this page that would need a TA is the supremacy 1.3.1.
Yeah. And we had countered at one point.
Yes. Yeah, you added state or federal law shall supersede any conflicting provision of this contract, and you just added in accordance with Article 26 of this agreement. And Article 26 has been previously proposed, so.
Yeah.
Don't know where you guys are at on the first.
Okay, all right, Yep, looks good.
Okay.
Right.
All right, on page 5, we had TA'd nurse. On the subcontracting 1.6, there was an initial no, then we had provided the clarity in a counter on September 20th. So I just wanted to circle back on 1.6.1, 1.6.2, and 1.6.3.
Correct. Yes, so what I have is still that, we were not comfortable with all of that language.
Okay.
The only language that we were comfortable with, is 1.6.1.
Okay.
Because obviously we are not using these contracted services to displace, reduce, or eliminate any members of the bargaining unit.
Okay, so we could.
However, we cannot agree to the rate of pay, and like that's all gonna be based on the needs of the students.
And 1.6.3.
Yes, no, we do not feel comfortable adding that into the contract at this time, but we will continue to have those discussions.
Okay, but we can TA 1.6.1.
Correct.
And everything else had been TA'd. You'll
Correct.
kind of see I've been tracking my notes to make sure.
Yeah,
it's-
no. Very appreciated.
All right. The next 2 pages kind of go together because it's at the end. We had TA 2.3.3A. We TA 3. And then 3.1.1, I think we had just, there was a question about controlled substances. You were okay to TA this, we just needed to make sure that it's illegal controlled substances, not just if there's a prescription that, you know, is legitimate, that isn't gonna get someone in trouble. That, you know, they may
Right.
have a legitimate prescription, so that's why there's that word illegal, correct?
Okay, we'll
Yeah.
hold on that. We'll bring it to back in a bit.
Okay, so that goes on, that leads on to page 7.
Yeah.
It's in my folder. 7 up there, I think, we TA'd 3.2.2, we TA'd 3.2.3. And I just need clarification to make sure when we TA'd 3.2.3, that was all of that as is right there, correct? We don't think we.
That is correct. Yep.
So that's good. So
Mhm.
don't need anything there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Page 12, 6.2.2. This is a little bit of a cleanup. We had, you know, we were originally seeking to do a full 40-hour week for paraprofessionals. So this is a little bit of a cleanup on that. In cases where paraprofessionals, except for strike ESC bus riders, insert DHH interpreters, and part-time OT PT assistants are required to work beyond their normal hours of paid time as stated in section 9.3.4. The affected employee shall receive pay equal to the employee's regular rate or comp time. Comp time in lieu of paid time for each hour worked may be granted if requested by the employee. So originally we were seeking, you know, the 40-hour work week, so anything beyond that was overtime.
Correct.
So we understand that that's not doable this year, but what we're looking for is that ability to either get the pay for that extra work or the comp time. And then the rest of the language kind of falls in with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll hold on that. Now, Britt, I had 6.1.7. You have that? That was the promotion formula stuff. We may have, no, we already TA'd it, but I just wanna,
Yeah.
okay. I don't have 6.1. No, that's from my old stuff. 6.1.7.
I didn't print it if it was TA, so.
Okay, which is fine. I just wanted to verify that we had, because I didn't have it written down here. Which could just be poor note taking on my part. This is where we said that we would go level for level with the promotional formula as opposed to the 4%, 3%, 2%. Good, perfect. I just wanted to make sure. All right, so we TA'd that on September
20th.
Thank you.
You need a copy of this too?
I would have it if you already gave it to me. I just wanted to make sure in my notes.
Yeah, I have this with my.
Love it. Okay. All right, so back to page 12.
We'll hold on page 12. So, you know, just as you work through this, it is all of the language kind of aligns with that payment or comp time.
Correct.
When requested by the employee in lieu of paid time.
Understood.
And then when the request for utilization interferes or conflicts with a planned activity requiring student supervision during assigned working hours, the administrator shall have the right of approval, and then inserting the DHH interpreters.
Got it.
Okay. Page 15, Article 8, there was a proposal for a new 8.1.1. I think when we last discussed this, there was still a hold on this to look at clerical employees given salary credit for related experience as a clerical employee.
Correct. Yep. Obviously with the salary schedule, which we're all happy about, that we're increasing the pay of our support employees. Right now, a lot of these things that are going to add to that cost are things that we are going to need to not do at this time. So right now that would be, because it has impact to our current employees as well. So we feel that we need to study that. How many current employees would this impact? As well as incoming employees. So at this time, we're gonna say no to that. And I think what we'd want to do is do a study on how many of our current employees would be impacted. We wouldn't want new employees coming in to
Right.
get clerical credit and then our current employees don't have it. So we really need to dig deeper in that. But for right now, with the cost that could incur, we're gonna have to not do that this year.
And then that would, on 8.2.1, where we're talking about paraprofessionals shall be given salary credit for all teaching or paraprofessional experience as defined in this agreement.
Same thing, same thing.
So
And just so we're on the same page with some of that too, we have had situations where employees were teachers, let's say, and for whatever their life situation happened and they went back to being either an assistant teacher or a para.
Yep.
We have been looking at those case by case, and when appropriate, like, you know, there are salary things that we can look at, and we usually do give them their years in those cases. And you have always done a great job of advocating on behalf of those employees, and we have worked through each of those case by case.
Sure. And I think maybe, you know, on ratification, you know, my motto is once you ratify, you start getting ready for the next right away.
Correct.
So that will be something that, you know, I could see us doing some requests for information to compile that, so we can look at that together. And
I think there's several areas we need to do that. Like, and I know we don't want to over committee ourselves, but there's several things that maybe we won't be able to feel comfortable finalizing at this time, but that if we work through it over the next months, years, depending on how long this contract is, we may be able to get to a better place with it.
Yeah, and that's kind of another, I don't know, good reason to have that 2-year agreement. So over the 2 years, we can look at that.
Yep.
Okay. I think everything else. Okay, 9.2.3. So 9.2.2, we TA'd. Oh, let me go back up to 9. There's a lot on here, sorry.
Yeah, there's
9, work here. We had originally proposed that just all employees get 13 paid holidays, to help, you know, our big issue is equalized pay.
Yeah.
So we know that that's not doable, but we have a adjusted proposal here that the less than 12-month ESP shall be paid for 7 holidays, and the 12-month ESP shall be paid for 14 holidays.
And that's a counter that you're.
Yeah, because we know that, you know, the whole shebang. So just trying to adjust to see if we can get a little, you know, as we stated, that's a very difficult, you know, it's difficult for our employees to not receive pay when there's unpaid days and without that equalized pay. So we're just trying to look for any way to, you know, pay those folks for the hard work they're doing.
We will look at that during caucus.
9.2.2, we TA'd.
Yes.
9.2.3, again, we had some language in here around the 40-hour work week, so we've adjusted it here based on our conversation dealing with breaks, and I thought we had a very good conversation about that. So the proposal here is the workday for permanent ESE paraprofessionals, paraprofessional 1, 2, 3, 4, which we know that we need to get in there, striking the IEP assistant. So the paraprofessionals, assistant teachers, and aides shall be 7 hours and 30 minutes, including a 30-minute duty-free paid lunch. And then the substantive change here is while ESE paraprofessionals, assistant teachers, and aides are not entitled to schedule breaks, every effort will be made by the administrator to provide breaks when possible. So that was kind of our way to try to find a way, which I think that's the intent of most administrators, but we, you know, as we've heard, when we hear that, nope, you don't get it, you're not entitled. So.
Well, and I think our concern with adding this language in is, what does that mean? Breaks when possible. You know, is it just during emergencies? Is it just, you know, is it now someone's going to say, I need a break every hour? So it's really too vague. And I know what the intent was.
Okay.
So we feel that it would be best to leave the language as is, because it aligns with all employees that work directly with students, teachers, paras, assistant teachers. They don't have scheduled breaks, but there are times throughout the day when when you have either, whether it depends on what level you're teaching, obviously, whether it's during specials time, during lunchtime. And I would always expect a principal that if someone has an emergency and needs to use the restroom, or like that is an expectation that you should be able to anytime call the office and someone needs to come cover you. Like that is, but to say that when possible.
So I have,
Yeah.
so this is, came up actually this morning.
Okay.
And so he's been in the district for 43 years. And so she called me this morning about a class because they're short staffed at her school. They want her to take a class. She didn't want the money. She didn't want the $10 because her main thing is, why would I want to keep covering this class when they don't give me a chance to go use the bathroom? 4 years in the district, just got in the drop. She said she's had enough. So this is still coming up constantly. Whereas, you know, our, our ESPs are not giving, you know, the opportunity to go use the bathroom. And we heard from someone last time about they're not giving opportunity. So this is just a countywide thing. And I think language can help. Again, I don't want to belabor it, but we gotta be able to show equal across the board. We have to be able to start doing that. I mentioned this before. If not, we're gonna lose people.
And I think to your point, I mean, there is language in the teacher contract. It doesn't necessarily strictly define when that is, but it creates parameters for, you know, at least a certain length of time that you can go with or without a break.
Okay.
And I understand. I understand if it's too open and too broad, but we're willing to look at, you know, breaks when, whatever that may be, that maybe we can work on something. So we're open for.
So let's hold on that and we'll brainstorm. But that's the concern.
And
That's
maybe
where that concern is.
We're clear on, you know, how long that is or what circumstances do allow it. I mean, I think it's just, this is what we're hearing.
Okay.
And we can be clear that there's no more than so many or whatever makes it
Understood.
where we both can reach that comfortable.
So I want to read what she just said. She said, "John, I decided to keep the class because my babies were sad. They know me. So I kept them rather than splitting the class up."
Okay. Now and obviously we'd have to dig into that specific situation, but when is it because when the teacher is off that the pair is still with them? Like that might be where some of the concern is up there.
From my understanding, I guess we can get some of the people as well, is just that if they have to use the restroom, we know we don't, if we have to go, we have to go.
Sure, absolutely.
And so been told, no, you cannot go.
Right, no, I mean, obviously, understood. But we also can't leave students unattended. And when you're a teacher or a para, you have direct responsibility for students. So there has to be some kind of.
And I'm assuming there's teachers in there, you know, so they say, hey, can I go to the restroom? So.
Okay, all right. Yes.
All right, page 16. Same issue here with 9.2.5. The workday for physical therapy assistants, health assistants. We had originally put in LPNs or, you know, and we just said nurses.
Correct.
And occupational therapy assistants shall be 8 hours, including a 30-minute duty-free paid lunch period. Physical therapy assistants, health assistants, nurses, and occupational therapy assistants shall receive 2 15-minute breaks.
So let's hold on that.
Okay.
If we were going to agree to that, it would need to be aligned to same thing, those who work directly with students.
Understood. And then I believe everything else here has been TA'd.
Okay.
All right, page 19 here. We had provided a counselor on the board's proposal to strike one of the verbal reprimand. And we had provided a counselor. I mean, we understand a verbal is a verbal, and we understand that there's that need to, hey, it happened. And so our counter here was that no written conference summary is placed in a personnel file, but the administrator may make note of the discussion in a worksite file.
Correct. If we'll hold on that, we do have something that we're bringing back with that.
Okay. All right. family transfer. The
Okay.
same language you proposed before, so.
Well, here's what's fun. So I was the one who first brought this, right? And now which I appreciate, you're trying to work with it. And now I think we've kind of landed on, maybe it's best to leave the language as it is.
I think so too. I agree. I mean, I appreciate also, the conversation on it, that was, it's probably, it's
Yeah.
not happening,
Right.
but we were really trying to like, put
I
in that
understand.
one strange event, so we'll
Yes.
just keep. current
So we'll
language.
just, yes.
All right. Oh, this is
Mhm.
page 38. This has to do with the community we
Yep.
discussed, and I tried to take kind of what we had discussed last time and put it here. So this is page 38, 18.5.3. The school district and association shall establish the school community professional learning committee for purposes of implementing related Florida statutes and or professional development. ESP committee appointees shall be appointed by the CTA. The committee will meet at least once each semester and will provide any recommendations to the board of association.
Oh, just spell, yeah, just meet.
That I meant wrong. Oh,
Yeah. Close enough.
I was here
You're
till
on.
midnight.
No, I get it.
So I had meat brain.
We're hungry. All right, meet once each semester. Board and association. We had talked about this and we just, is the thought that we believe it's necessary. I mean, it hasn't been happening.
Mhm.
Do we want to say once each semester, or do you think okay,
I mean,
we would like to counter with once a year,
okay,
not saying that it can't happen more often, but we would
Okay.
want to hold that group to at least once a year to meet, to discuss professional development. We all know semesters fly by,
Mhm.
and to even once we make agreements in a committee to get things moving usually takes some time. So we would like to counter with once a year, and then provide the recommendations so that they can create their PD calendar, professional learning calendar.
Okay, so it would be once each year,
Correct.
with the intent, I mean.
Intent the
If
same.
we meet it in the year and we say, hey, the
Sure.
committee decides we need to meet.
Absolutely.
Again. in a
They
month,
can meet
we're
as
gonna
many
so.
times as
Okay.
they want. I just
But the
think in
requirement
the
is at least
contract,
once
it's
a year.
required
I
once a
gotcha.
year.
I'm fine with that. I mean, it at least establishes that there is that required, but we can talk this.
Okay, yep.
Hold on it. All right, this is in staff meetings, page 39, 18.9.2. This again, we had some original proposal here around the 40-hour work week. So we're proposing, and this is the language to kind of keep in line with what we had proposed earlier about the employee has the right to choose comp time, normal rate of pay, or overtime at the appropriate rate, or time beyond the normal workday.
Okay. Yep. So we'll hold that with the others.
Got it?
And I'm just putting it up. The concern is we have no idea what the cost of that would be, right? We all know that comp time is out there. So I feel that we've talked about the fact that we need some kind of gauge, and whether it means that we need to have principals submit to us how much comp time for these kind of occurrences happened in the last or in this year, so that we can then see, is this something that we can't afford? So that's why we've been holding off, just kind of want to be transparent, right?
Yeah, and I think this is an important topic.
It
Because
is.
comp time for hourly employees means something different than it does for our
Agreed.
salaried employees.
Agreed.
I know when I was an employee here, comp time was kind of, here it is. And then there was a time where we were, let's rein it in, let's track it. My understanding is that should be tracked at the work site.
It is.
And I would think even more specifically for hourly employees, because I do think there are some federal rules and guidelines around comp time for hourly employees that it must be paid. So we're trying to find that middle ground of,
Understood.
we know there are employees that they like their comp time, it's useful. But without just doing a full, hey, where you need to go with, let's get this waiver out of the way and just have it paid. So, that's where we're trying to find
get
that,
it.
where it's requested and it's that conversation with the administrator and the employee.
Mhm.
I understand,
And
I
I think
understand there's a concern of we don't know, but should know.
we should, I think the tracking has been happening at the school sites,
Yep.
right? So the concern is it's not tracked at the district site, at the district level
Okay.
with finance. So that's where we have to, yes, we will discuss it during caucus, but that's where what our pause has been.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So how do you try other that get overtime, whether it be security or other stuff? So how is that?
They have to ask permission from finance before they even assign it. So because that happens, that makes it where we can track it, right? And finance knows that there is a level of accountability to it. Whereas at the school site, speaking as a former principal, you give it out a lot more, right? So there would have to be a process. And at the same time, you can't have a process if it's an emergency in that given day, right? You can't say this bus is late and I'm going to ask this paraprofessional if they're willing to stay with this student that they are a unique needs aid for. That bus is late today. You don't have time to call the district office to see if you have approval for that. So I think that's where it's a little bit more difficult to track it at the district level, where security, we have this event coming up and we want to hire security for that event. Or custodial right now reaches out to finance and says, I have vacancies at these schools. I want to assign overtime for these custodians to work and cover those shifts. So yeah, there has to be a way. I'm with you. That's what our pause is how do we know and how is there accountability, but at the same time fulfilling the needs of the schools?
Yeah, and I think it's really I don't know if culture shift is the right word, but it's an understanding of comp time, because I know with security or HSCF unit, even in an emergency, there can be overtime.
Correct.
I mean, so there is an accounting, but there's an understanding that that's the way those employees, and they're hourly employees just as ours are.
Agreed.
So we're trying to make gains there without doing a fail swoop. Well, you just got to pay it.
Understood.
Because we know that that is going to be a culture shift for this district.
It would be.
But we've heard a lot about non-recurring funds, and this is something that we believe those non-recurring funds could address to kind of with that uncertainty piece. But yeah, like I said, without doing just a sweeping, hey, we need to just go ahead and do the comp time payout completely. We do want to provide that transition. So, okay. All right. So this is page 49, Article 23. We TA'd 23.1.1. There's a no on 23.1.2. So this is really now we're just looking at kind of the bottom of page 49 and top of 50. This has to do with the release time of officers. There were some typos on the last time, so I kind of cleaned it up. The president, vice president, and/or secretary treasurer of the association, who are also employees of the board, shall, upon request by the association, at least once annually, be reassigned to perform duties for the association. These duties shall be considered by the board as being equal to ESP duties. We have taken the teacher, which is already kind of in here. This is just adding those particular officers. The individual performing these duties shall be considered active board employee for all purposes except as may be specified in this contract. The employee shall be compensated at the employee's same rate of pay as if he or she was performing full-time ESP duties. The new association shall reimburse the board for personnel costs incurred in the performance of duties under this section. And the association shall inform the board of the date of the officer's term of office. Originally, we had a typo there with the president. So we're trying to take the language that was already there and account for the.
Correct. And just to clarify for everybody in the room, this is what we're doing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
there was no intent to say that it wasn't. It was just to clean up. This language had already been there for president. We were just updating.
Yeah.
We talk about it.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
We have made a counter on the payroll deduction, Article 23.4.1. And You good with
Mhm.
that?
Yep.
Seeing this, but keep it in my stack for the. Page 53, insurance committee, we had, there's no change here, it's just the numbers that we had previously proposed. I know that you had stated we needed to go
Yes.
discuss.
I didn't bring you down.
Not that I
All right.
have,
All right, I will bring it back. Sorry.
it's okay.
I had in my notes that I had.
No,
but
that's
maybe it was
okay.
just that we had discussed what we were going to.
I believe the last time we talked about it was, I think you told us that you wanted to bring a counter, but
Okay,
you
got
need
it.
to go talk to some
Thank you.
folks in
Yes, I did,
insurance. Okay.
and I did.
Okay, so we'll wait.
Thank you.
And then, we had the fingerprint monitoring language in here. The board will pay the cost of fingerprint monitoring fees for ESP employees. You know, that's in our, compensation agreement, but there's
Yeah.
a desire to just have it be part of our
Have it be
contract.
part of
since
there.
it's- I don't know that there's a time that it's never been.
Correct. Okay, yes, that would be fine.
Like three piles, like that's the TA pile, come back, and the. Good. All right, resignation procedures, you had brought some language about, making an appointment for retirement, so we added a little bit, we've got a little bit of a counter, because there were some concerns, so an ESP planning to retire should contact HCPS retirement department to schedule an exit meeting 3 months prior to their retirement date. Failure to schedule 3 months prior will have no negative consequences to employee's retirement or employee status. So your language had shall, so it made it kind of like, this is
Got
a
it.
requirement, and then
Yes.
there were concerns that came up of like, oh gosh, is there gonna be a repercussion? And so we understand that
I understand.
employees
Right.
should be doing this, we just didn't want there to be any like, oh, you don't do it, you're not gonna retire.
Correct, no, honestly, if you want to come drop these on, and yeah, absolutely, I
So they
understand.
should, and this helps kind of perpetuate that.
Yes.
So
We
that
can,
was our.
we can TA that, yes, absolutely, that is the intent, is if someone doesn't, or if you, I mean, you have the right as an employee, you might not decide 3 months in advance that you're going to retire.
Right.
That's your right,
Right,
so, absolutely.
Well, before I hand it to you, there's some other parts
Okay.
here. Savings clause, which would be, tied to what we had TA'd originally. 26.1.1, if any provision of this agreement is or shall at any time be found by a court of competent jurisdiction to be contrary to law of Florida Board or of Education regulations, then such provision shall not be applicable or performed or enforced except to the extent permitted by law. All other provisions of this agreement shall continue in effect. In such cases, either party may compel negotiations over a replacement provision.
All eyes on Jeff.
Just, I think that sentence that you're added
Mhm.
should be moved ahead of that sentence, because in such cases, aren't we referring to when there's conflict of something?
Yeah, so like this, the intent here is if, there's a new law passed and it's found, okay, this is, illegal. There's language that we've got to address, kind of like our payroll, that we would be able to come together to address it. Because there may be, rather than just completely like, nope, it's done, that we have that,
Right, so I think,
Just before the last sentence?
so you would
correct, so
put,
all
yeah,
of the provisions of the agreement should come after the blue sentence.
got it, okay. So it would say in any provision of this agreement found blah, blah, blah. In such cases, either party may compel negotiations over a replacement provision. All other provisions of this agreement shall continue in effect.
Right.
Correct.
Yes, I like that. I'm just gonna put a little arrow here. And put a little nail. So if we do that, we can TA it, okay. Okay, and then, this page
Oh,
in the
right.
next year, I'll let you go.
Yeah, we'll have to wait on
TA
that
this,
part,
And then
yeah.
the last ones have to do with,
How long we do the
dates,
agreement, yeah.
And then I do want to, I held off on the big
I was
rock.
gonna say.
So just to, before we move to the big rock, the non-money items, you can see that 2025. And just based on kind of, I think, recent experience, there was a desire to kind of move it to June 30th, if the, as long as we're informing each other prior to June 30th, 2025, but that's, we're open to have to look at that.
No,
And
that's
then it's the same in both, the non-money items and money items.
understood.
And then there's a note then on page 56 that the correct date upon ACTA ratification of the board approval will be put there and then updated all the names.
Okay.
So who's on this week? Oh, that's good. All right, so before we go to the grievance procedure, you had provided some language on terminal pay, and this is your 25.1.1. I didn't make copies of this because this was yours that you brought.
Yep.
We had a question where it says, in order to encourage and reward ESP employees who exercise particular care and maintenance of their personal health and job attendance, the board will provide terminal pay to ESP employees upon termination of employment at retirement, provided that retirement coincides with termination, or to their beneficiaries if service is terminated by death. There was concern that it seemed redundant, so we wanted to just get clarification because it sounds like it's saying upon termination of employment at retirement, provided retirement coincides with termination. So we felt like, why? Because it sounds like you're just saying the same thing twice. If it's provided upon termination of employment at retirement, why do we need provided?
Because people can terminate
Okay,
and then 2 months later call FRS and retire. Because if you terminate, you may not be retiring. You may be thinking, nah, I'm gonna go work for another organization. So just because you terminate doesn't mean that you retire. But we don't want someone a year down the road that decides to retire now saying, you now owe me my terminal pay, even though you're no longer in the organization.
okay, but does it not say
Say it again.
upon termination of employment at retirement? It already says that.
Okay.
So that we were just like, we were worried we were missing something.
No, I think that's always been the intent, just to clarify
Okay, the
that.
board will provide terminal pay to ESP employees upon termination of employment at retirement. So we believe it already says that.
But what if someone says, well, you owe me my terminal pay because now I retired, even though I'm 2 years down the road? I think that's why that was in there.
Okay,
So I can terminate, I can say, I'm going to resign. I'm planning to go work with Pinellas County. And then if I go and retire from them, you don't get your terminal pay from us. That's where that came from. I can't tell you historically why that was put in there, but
Okay.
we all know that things are put in there because something happened, right? Something happened and someone said, no, this says you give me my terminal pay at retirement. So I think that's why it's
Okay,
in there.
maybe we need to, I don't know.
Reword it different.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I think I understand what you're saying. The board will provide terminal pay to ESP employee upon termination. We just want to be clear that, okay, I think I understand. We'll talk about it.
There must have been, I mean, there must have been a situation. I mean, we can't, who knows, right? It could have been 20 years ago,
Yeah.
as far as we know, that someone then said, no, it says termination, like that you owe me my terminal pay, even though you didn't retire when you were terminating with us.
Okay,
Because when you leave the district and resign, you don't get your terminal pay unless you're retiring.
right.
So,
Well, that's the question, I guess. Like, we've had this language as is, so then why, provided that retirement coincides with termination? Like, did something happen that now we need that language? Because if the intent of the language was always at retirement.
yes.
Okay,
I mean, we've had a couple different situations that needed clarity, and one was an employee that hadn't hit the 59 and a half. And you know, it's been our past practice, so we continued with it. However, it was a situation that we had. Mr. Peacock can speak better to it.
Okay. I just wanted to have, because like I said, when I read it, I was like, that just seems.
We agree to disagree, but it has been the past practice. So
The
that
past
was
practice is
that you have to be
actually retiring. Okay.
and to be retiring, even if your investment plan, you have to be 59 and a half or
Okay.
30 years.
All right, so we have clarity on that. And then for the FRS investment plan members to be eligible for terminal pay, employees must have 30 years of service at any age or be at least 59 and a half years of age invested. Distribution from FRS investment plan must be taken no later than 6 months from retirement.
And that again is something that is practice. That is what we do.
currently
That
do.
is what we currently do. However, there has not been it clarified in there, which we think would be helpful because we had a situation where there needed to be clarity.
And
Yeah.
David knows about that.
David knows about it.
There's a procedure memo that outlines that.
There is.
in-
Okay.
in the district.
Oh, could you send that to me?
Get that
Tracy
from
has it.
Tracy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't have I wanted to get clarity before, because
Mhm.
I remember we talked about it and then I had notes like David.
Yes.
Procedures.
But we're not trying to put anything in that isn't what our current practice is with
Understood.
either of those.
Okay. So I'm just gonna put that in our file. Okay, so. So we had previously presented all the grievance language, and so the ball's in the court.
It is. You want me to
What-
go? Okay, you
What,
go ahead.
what we'd like to propose is similar to what we did with the overtime issues. Is we think it's not something that, I think it's a bigger conversation. So why don't we form a committee
Okay.
of HCTA members and district to meet and just discuss that.
Okay.
I don't think it's something that Danielle and you can just, I think there's issues there, and I think it needs to be addressed, but in a larger, sort of a larger context, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And I know you had mentioned some of and I did you have so much experience with different districts. So I looked at, and some look like ours and some look like what you're proposing. Like that's what I found. So,
Yep.
You know, I reviewed some of our contiguous counties around us and, you know, some reflect exactly what you're proposing and some reflect exactly what we currently do. So I think that just needs to be that would be a complete shift from what our current practice is.
From the district's perspective, we need more input from more than just HR. We would need to bring in the larger organization for that discussion.
What page is that on, Brent?
In the actual, well,
No,
I had it
in
printed,
the-
it was page 43. It
Thank
could
you.
be-
No, that's
Could
good.
be off because of
Found
as
it.
I've added and.
Found it.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, I do have a proposal on that, like some language proposal that we could agree with that it would be. We can go on to committee or. I felt like there were some easy things in there that we could, but, you know, things like grievance, rather than a grieved person.
Agreed.
um,
Yeah, we talked about that. I'm like,
grievance, so.
we're good with that. Everything else we feel a little bit uneasy because
So
it
is
would change the
Is there an
practice.
ability to TA any parts of it
Yes.
today? Okay.
There is an ability to discuss, we'll discuss, but it's really just some of the terms.
So what if we went through some of them and the ones, I don't know.
Okay, we
Let's
can
see
do
if
that.
We can
Get some of
identify
it.
where the issues are. All right, so. I didn't print a new one of these because you should have a copy of this.
I do.
So this is page 43, and those of you that, you should have copies of this too. It's page 43, article 22. I didn't make new copies of it in
Is
the
this the
packet
grievance
today.
stuff you're
It's all the
talking about?
grievance stuff.
We'll need to caucus to see what we can.
Oh, okay,
can
so,
TA, yeah.
but you have,
I do. I have the big packet.
Is there a way we can get one copy of that?
That would be super helpful.
yeah, because it's just what we can do is we'll just make, Jerry, I guess we'll just make copies of everyone. This. You can use mine.
Thank you.
Okay. I might be able to print it on, I can probably go print it on my computer. Our copier's not working. It's
Understand.
not your fault.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
No, because we had wanted to bring forth that idea of having an ongoing discussion, so that's why we didn't bring, a counter to it per se, but we can look through and see there are some terms in there that we're comfortable with, that we can come back after caucus
Okay.
and bring it to you.
Yeah, because I think there's some of it, I understand some of the large changes to, you know, the steps, but I think there's some stuff in here too that's like, that should probably be in there.
Okay,
But maybe that's just my opinion.
okay.
So I'll make a copy.
That would be
I'll make a couple
amazing.
copies of this for you all, and everybody else should have that here binder from last time, because we have not made any changes to that. Okay, so that's
Yeah,
it.
good.
There's a stack of things to review and
Yep.
caucus.
Yep.
We'll make a copy and then I'll bring it to you.
Yeah,
all,
just bring it,
and,
because we'll work through some of the other stuff real quick.
Oh, okay. What's that called? All right, so we will caucus for how much time do you think we'll need?
Let's go 30.
Okay, we'll do 30, and then if we need to readjust. we'll let
Okay,
each other
that
know.
sounds good.
All right, thank you.
He's quick. He delete what we, okay. All right. So we went through, obviously, a lot of the things that we had discussed previously, and came to some things that we think we can go ahead and finalize.
Okay.
And then some things that we will basically be bringing up that we think it's something to study or address or look at moving
Okay.
forward. Okay. All right. So, starting with just the first page. We are in agreement to make this a 2-year contract.
Okay.
So that some of these things that we do feel like we need to study will come, and we know next year, even when it's just a money year, we can always have a talk about how many topics we want to bring just to look at. But I think that will help, as well as having us on a different schedule due to the delay we had with, both COVID and impasse. Yep. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we are good with that, with making it a contract that's from 2023 through 2025.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Borrow your pen again.
Oh,
I brought
thank
it
you.
extra. Everybody's got a. Everybody's so helpful. Thank you. I need people to take care of me. All right. This, we're in agreement that we're gonna finalize all of it, and if it, yep. How do you want to handle that?
I think that the only issue is just where is the campus safety monitor?
I would think it goes in with, under others. Where the assistant teachers are, under the para unit,
Okay.
but I'm not married to where it goes. I just feel like.
Okay, so I think that's where we put it. So then what we would.
Where it is. I have it in with the clerical.
Well, that's where it is on the document I gave you today.
Oh, okay.
But what happened was, I think last time we were together, let me find it. We had discussed putting campus safety monitor in the para unit.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah, we're
Yes
good with
to
that.
which?
Para unit,
Okay, so in this one, then we need to strike it here.
correct.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the concern, because for the attorney that we're working with, he didn't have your email correct again, but one of the questions he's got is the campus safety monitor. The position was created in 2022, and the question is who, if anyone, did this work prior to then and back in 1979? So we're trying to, like, where does it go? And I think that when you sent me the documents originally, it was in the clerical. But if it's supposed to be in the para, then that's fine. I just want to be clear.
What does it actually say on the phone?
That's what I was
We
gonna
have it
try
on
to,
there for bargaining.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
What's your wireless login?
internet. Just the internet.
I'll look it up on you.
Okay, so we'll come,
All right, so we'll-
let's hold on that. And same thing, page 4, that's just all the positions, correct?
Yeah, and I think we already TA'd that.
Yeah. Next one I have, okay, so let's go to, the drug and alcohol free
Mhm.
workplace.
Mhm.
So we feel strongly that this needs to align with board policy
Okay.
and it can't have the word illegal in there. Illegal must be removed. Basically, it comes down to that we have to follow, the federal guidelines
Okay,
and, medical marijuana would not be permissible, but it
right,
may not be illegal. So, so that's where, to align with board policy, it should say employees shall not manufacture, use, possess, distribute, purchase, solicit, purchase, or dispense any controlled substance or alcohol at any time while on district property.
and or while involved in any district related activity or event.
Correct.
Like,
And then as well as on the next page, same thing, illegal would have to be removed. Mhm.
right? Well, let's just put that aside then, so I can
Okay.
talk with the team about it.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, finding it. Okay, so let's have our overtime conversation, okay? We think this is a very large topic that needs to be addressed and studied. And we are proposing that we leave the contract language as is currently, but that we agree that we need to do a full study at the sites, what comp time is out there, what it would look like, be able to make those adjustments. And we want to partner with you in doing that because we do think this is something that needs to be addressed and looked at. And with our new HR chief, she has this now on her list as something to research because there is a disconnect, like we've mentioned, between what comp time is out there at the sites and what we know about at the district level, and we want to change that. So we're going to, we have a project moving forward that we are going to look at what's out there and then put guidelines on how it would potentially need to be addressed. And that might be something, whether we do that in collaboration with y'all, or you let us study that and then bring it back to you as something that we can then bargain.
How is it done for HSEF? Because they can earn comp time, right?
Mhm.
And it's paid, so how is it?
There's an approval process right
Okay.
now. I mean, it's just custodial
Mhm.
and security. It's much more finite, like,
Mhm.
you know, we're only talking about 2 employee groups,
Okay.
very limited. Yeah. So I think with knowing how many ESP employees are out at the site, oh, it is in the paraprofessional unit on the job description, campus safety monitor.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's helpful. Squirrel.
Okay, so we,
Okay, sorry.
no, that's good.
But yes, we agree that it needs to be looked at, and there needs to be guidelines put in place on when it would be appropriate and not appropriate and all those things for sites to assign it. Right now, with security and overtime, it's only by one person. So custodial overtime is only assigned by the general manager or the manager of custodial operations. Security is only assigned by security. When you open it up to the sites, you have 240 managers that are doing different things. So we need to be able to rein that in and be able to find guidelines and a way to control that. That's the challenge, is because you have way more people involved in that process.
Well, I'll just on my discuss routine, but let's go back for a moment
Yes.
to
Yep.
So then on this page, which is page 2,
Yes.
we would need to actually, on this page, strike campus safety monitor.
Correct.
Okay. So if we strike that, should be there. Okay, so if we
we can TA
strike
that.
that, we can TA that.
Yes, ma'am. I'm happy to see we put it where. we thought it
Yeah, we
should
did
go.
it.
We had a lot of conversation about it, when that position had come about.
Yeah, and we did, that's what, when I was looking through the stuff last night, I was like, wait a second, we just TA'd it in the other group, so let's make sure.
Yep, yep, that makes sense.
All right.
All right. So if we turn to page 15.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we wanted to come back to 8.1.1.
Okay.
I know we had said, no.
Yeah.
So we wanted to come back to this. We were brainstorming some ways that we could do this moving forward.
Okay.
So we are proposing that if we look at your proposal, but then add something at the end.
Okay.
Clerical employees shall be given salary credit for all related experience as a clerical employee earned after July 1st, 2023. Therefore, we kind of have a new starting point.
Okay.
And moving forward, employees that come into the organization, even if they are coming from the outside, we're only going to give them credit starting with July 1st, 2023, moving forward. But that would help us moving forward with being able to give credit for those, someone that comes in next year could get credit for working as a secretary at a law firm this year. But then it would be consistent and not detrimental to our current employees where they're not treated the same. So it's only after July 1st, 2023.
Trying to find the article, so I'm gonna type what you said so
Okay.
I can review it.
Okay.
Trying to find the article. Maybe-
8.1.1.
Contract. Does anybody have any questions on that while I find this?
8.1.1.
Yeah, maybe once I get there and we can reread what you said.
Okay.
Okay, hold on.
And this will be helpful with some of our counters for you to
Yep.
be able to, for us to work together on.
Okay, so our proposal is clerical employees shall be given salary credit for all related experience as a clerical employee, period, and then,
No, actually, no period. Just
Okay.
earned after July 1st, 2023, period. And we've done this in the instructional contract in some areas.
July 1st,
July 1st.
2023.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I think I got it and we'll
Okay. Talk
discuss.
about that. Okay. The next area was 9.1.1.
Mhm.
We are not agreeing to this right now. We understand the rationale behind it, and we're hoping that through the committee where we're looking at equalized pay, we may be able to address some of those concerns in a different way than giving additional holidays. All right, then 9.2.3. We have concerns about this, but we're trying to find ways to work within it to address what you're asking for, but at the same time not create unworkable conditions for, so this is what we would like to counter with.
Let me find it.
Thank you.
second.
No, take your time.
Sure, I'm on the right. There. Okay, I'm there.
Okay. So the current language, looking at 9.2.3. Workday for permanent ESE paras, assistant teachers and aides shall be 7 hours and 30 minutes, including a 30-minute duty-free paid lunch. ESE paraprofessional, so taking out while. ESE paraprofessionals, assistant teachers and aides are not entitled to scheduled breaks, period. We would like to propose that it then goes, consideration will be given by the administration to provide a restroom break when necessary. While still maintaining appropriate student supervision, period.
While still maintaining,
Appropriate student supervision. So that would be our counter for that.
okay. Let me go back up for the, you had the counselor for the clerical. Was there anything
Yes.
for the para?
No.
Okay. So that 8.2.1 was still a no.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, and they still get just they get paraprofessional experience for anything that they have as a
Right,
host
right,
or
it's not the
paraprofessional.
teaching.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
And then going to 9.2.5, the only adjustment that we would agree to is changing it to nurses instead of LPNs.
Okay.
Everything else we would want to stay as is. Physical therapy assistants and occupational therapy assistants have a lot of control over their schedule. You know, they push into classrooms a lot of times, or so I think I don't know what they're taking,
Okay.
but they kind of have control over that. And the concern with health assistants and nurses is that you can't leave the clinic unoccupied. The reality is you don't have a duty-free lunch as a nurse because you may be in the clinic. That's why it doesn't say that currently. You have a paid lunch break. You have your paid lunch, but a lot of times you might have a kid back in the, that's sick back in the room. You can't leave them unsupervised. So it is different. It's a different role. And there's no one to relieve them. You can't leave a kid unattended that's waiting for the parent to pick them up because they have the flu. So that's why it's written the way it is.
Would you consider adding, I mean, I understand the duty free, but this same kind of language, that consideration will be given to administration to give those folks bathroom break?
But then who's monitoring someone that has a health concern? And most of them have a
But that would
bathroom
still
in their
cover
clinic.
while still maintaining appropriate student supervision. Isn't that the purpose of why you had that there? That
Mhm.
if we can't get coverage for the students, clearly
Right.
that's, so I'm
Right.
just asking.
Yeah, I think right now, I don't know of a clinic that doesn't have a restroom. So they have access to that right there in their space.
Okay.
All right. All right, if we go to page 19, 11.3.7. We are in agreement to TA the counter that you proposed. Thank you.
we have a counter for you on 38.
Oh, got it, okay.
So, what we would do is we would keep all the school district and association shall establish the school community professional learning committee for the purposes of implementing related Florida statutes and or professional development. ESP committee appointees shall be appointed by CTA. The committee will meet, the correct meet, at least once each year and as needed, and will provide any recommendations to the board and association. Because there was some concern about, like, they wanted to make sure that,
Yeah.
okay, we know we gotta do the one time, but is it okay that we meet more as needed?
Any concerns? Okay, no, I am
Okay.
good with that.
And we discussed too, as that committee meets and
Mhm.
if there's recommendations to this language even on
Right.
how that committee works, then we can do that. You
That
can
would
kind
be
of see what I
great.
did there, insert with the.
Johnny, I think between us, like, even though we're not in charge of professional learning, like, it may take us saying, okay, let's look at a timeline so that I can get with the, the executive director of professional learning. So I
Yeah.
think with us doing that,
Yeah.
it'll be super helpful to make sure that it does happen.
Yeah, we did have a discussion just on this,
Yeah.
that, the timing of when that committee meets, because then when the schedule is set for the
I know.
coming year, but then also legislative session. So, that will definitely take some collaboration to kind
Yeah, I'm
of
thinking
figure
if we
that out.
collaborate with, the executive director before and kind of talk about it, I'll share with her this language and we'll get together. Okay. Okay. Going to page 39, 18.9.2. This is the same as what we had discussed earlier, that we want to, we feel that this needs a reboot. We feel that this needs to be studied, and it is something that we are committed to looking at as an organization. But we're proposing that until we have that information, that we hold the language as it is. Page 49 and 50.
Yep.
23.3.1 and 23.3.2, we are in agreement to TA that.
I'm gonna just do it like,
That's fine.
just so. it's clear.
Do I need to sign that bottom page? Oh, you did. Yeah. All right, so are we on insurance committee? Is
Yes.
that what you have? Okay.
Mhm.
All right, so we'd like to counter and just really pare this down a little bit.
Okay.
All right. This has been our practice to have the insurance committee, but we also understand that this is a mandatory subject of bargaining,
Mhm.
right? So we are, for 24.5.1,
Mhm.
we would like it to read, the board and association recognize the importance of maintaining and balancing quality health and other insurance for employees, period. Toward these ends, a joint insurance committee will be established, period.
Okay.
And then I think it'd be good, since as we go through this process, that you'll be there this time from beginning to end, that then you can kind of share some of your expertise on if you have any concerns
Okay.
that needs to be different in the language. So that would be that part. Then 24.5.2. We'd like to, again, kind of pare it down to the insurance committee will review and analyze the health insurance plan and any other insurance plans mutually agreeable to the parties, period. And that would be our counter for those sections. And then strike 24.5.3.
Is there a reason to not agree to no less than 15 days prior to each meeting? I mean, isn't that already done? That the
You're talking about-
information, it says no less than 15 days prior to each meeting, the board shall provide committee members with a copy of most recent reports available from the provider and or providers being evaluated. And that's provided, whether it's,
Okay,
I mean,
we'll
even
talk
if
about
it's-
that.
okay.
Got it. No, I understand.
All the last was like all the dates and stuff.
It was, yes. So. Yep, and so the dates would be aligned with having a 2-year contract.
Okay. So those are all good. You looked
Yep.
at how,
Now, we had some concerns, too strong word, 27.2.2.
uh-huh,
We thought it read a little bit, so right now, we were thinking it might be best to just say if either party desires. Am I in the right part? Hold on. Yeah, if either party desires to make changes in the agreement, the parties must inform each other by June 30th, 2025 of the year the contract expires, period. We're not, what's the rationale? If we're changing that to June 30th, do we need that last piece? Or by the first working day, like
I think I just,
took
I
what was already
keeping what was
there?
already there and just
Correct.
giving us a little bit of extra time on the June 30th.
Yep, and I like the June
Um,
30th, so we're thinking for that whole section, just to clean it up, to just say, if either party desires to make changes in the agreement, the parties must inform each other by June 30th, 2025 of the year the contract expires, period. And then not have to do June 30th in any year that money contract is extended. Like, we couldn't really, it seemed.
Because it's also in the non-money, same in 27.1.2.
Correct, yes, thank you. Yeah, Jeff just said it's the same in 27.1.2.
Okay,
We just, I don't completely understand
I
it.
think that the reason it says that is because this is just me kind of reading it
Yeah.
here. In 27.1.1 or in 27.2.1, it talks about that this agreement becomes effective when approved and ratified
Mhm,
and continues to and including June 30th.
right,
And from year to year or day to day thereafter until a new contract is ratified. So the
Mhm.
status quo remains, or it's not, because you can't really extend it. You can't agree to extend a 3-year contract because that would violate, but while you're in bargaining, all that.
Right.
So that's the only thing I can think is that with the intent, because there's intent to set forth the changes,
Mhm.
like, okay, it's expired on the 30th. We're not actually extending it. That's the only thing I can kind of think.
Do you see any concerns with that?
I don't know.
Just leaving it?
I mean, it's been there probably forever, but. So the proposal then is just in the 27.1.2 and the 27.2.2. If either party desires to make changes in the agreement, the parties must inform each other by June 30th, 2025.
Of the year the contract expires.
It would just be
June
June
30th,
30th.
correct.
So,
Oh, yeah, of the year the contract expires. Thank you. And we're not trying to change anything with what we do. We just thought it read a little bit strange.
and then just leave it at that, take everything else out.
Correct.
The contract expires. I think you'd have to still keep of the intent to set forth the desired changes, because I think that's saying like, we're gonna let you know that of our intent to set forth
Mhm.
changes. So I think we have to keep that last part. In
Okay.
any year the contract is extended, I'm guessing that was there, just like I said, for the contract's expired, but it status quo remains, but,
Go ahead.
Allow it instead of just have prior to the expiration of the contract. of the intent to set forth the desired change. Because paragraph above, it expired, goes to
Yeah.
June 30th, and then just keep it simpler in the second one, just, you gotta let the other side know before it expires. Whether that's June 30th
Yeah,
or whether it's
okay.
6 months later.
That makes sense to me, because I
Yeah.
think the important part is that we know
It's still in
dates.
effect, right?
If either party desires to make changes in the agreement, the parties must inform each other prior to the expiration.
Of the intent to set forth the
Probably
desired
put
change.
of the intent before that. So if the party desires to make changes in the agreement, the parties must inform each other of the intent to set forth the desired changes prior to the expiration of the contract.
Oh, that makes sense. Be a lawyer.
Word diagram.
You gotta do those.
Promise.
All right. Okay, if either party desires to make changes in the agreement, the parties must inform each other prior to the expiration, or if you're putting of the intent first, okay? So it's either party desires to make changes in the agreement, the parties must inform each other of the intent to set forth the desired changes prior to the expiration of the contract, okay? This is just all. Okay. All right, got it, and we'll talk about it. I want to make sure.
Did I skip one?
I think so. If we wait, ready. I don't have it.
Is that the grievance stuff?
It's the officer.
Oh,
Create
no.
that.
Yeah, we just did.
Did we?
Mhm.
Yes.
We just did.
Gotcha.
23.1 and 23.3.2 TA. Yeah.
All right. Now, have we done everything except the grievance? No. Oh, good point. Thank you. You had the, terminal pay
Mhm.
stuff. Yep.
So we have had a lot of discussion about this and like the intent and the practice and, what does this mean? And, I think our position is to just keep the language as is, that,
Which is fine. I
Yeah,
mean, we,
I think because it was kind of like redundant, and if we're doing this, then
yes, and it's not a memo that it's in the employee handbook, but obviously, as far as the language that we follow. Yeah.
so that's you would just. keep-
Okay, we can do that. Because, and it's, we consulted again with Dr. Schatzberg, and it's like, if the language isn't there, this has been our practice.
Right,
It's just that we were trying to help and clarify it for employees so that when they go to multiple places, they see it all aligned and saying the same thing.
Yep.
So, okay. Lunch is here.
Oh.
Yeah.
In my mouth.
All right.
So this is have a little bit more, but it's kind of like housekeeping stuff. It's just
Okay.
like, and I'll just hand them over to you because it's just the like names.
Oh, right.
Okay. It's like school board information, and then it's like all our people, and then for the table of contents, it's just kind of the thing.
Right.
Just add that to your, I don't think we need to go through it, but in our
No.
caucus, you guys can look at it.
Let's look at it. Thank you.
I don't know how many more you need.
That's fine. Thank you. Yep, actually, can I have one more? Thank you. For the book.
You guys want these, or just, you already have them. Oh, you got them, okay? So there's no changes there. I think I did, I think we would just need your bargaining team.
Sure.
And that's it, but
Okay, no, yeah, we definitely want that to be accurate.
I'm just gonna add that later stack to come back.
Okay.
All right, do we want to kind of walk, well, let's maybe take a second and decide, do we want to start kind of walking through this to see what we can do, or do we want to break for lunch?
I think we can share with you what we are good with.
Okay,
All
all right,
because like we shared, this is a big transition, it would be a big change for our organization, even though we know it doesn't happen that often. I mean,
Yeah,
let's put that out there. But we do have some things that we would be comfortable with going ahead and changing in the new book. And then working towards, looking at it, whether it's in committee or in collaboration with our labor management meetings
Yeah.
to discuss some things moving forward.
yeah, and I'll just preface all of this with saying that I don't think that this language is appropriate for a committee because it is very clearly outlined in the statute that it's
Okay.
negotiated language between the employer and the bargaining agent.
Okay.
But I recognize, the good work we do in those labor management meetings. So
Okay.
I think it's, negotiations, as we've learned, and every time
Sure.
that you work through things and this is the initial proposal and, we get some changes, some doesn't, some stays the same. But there are some things in here that I think are easy, and then other things that, are like practice changes in the way it goes, but then there are
Correct.
some other things in there that are pretty serious.
Mhm.
So we'll just
Okay,
proceed.
so let's start at 22.1.
Yes.
Okay. So, we are in agreement to change aggrieved person to grievant.
Okay.
Then if we go to 22.2.1, we are good with putting in the pre-grievance
Okay.
conference piece. And then the rest we would not be in agreement with at this time. The
Okay.
part where only grievances based upon a dispute involving the misinterpretation or misapplication shall be arbitrable. So that, we are not in agreement with right now.
Okay. So I just want to be clear that that's a waiver. And if you're okay with waiving this very clearly outlined in the statute, but you're not willing to do something like equalized pay that is only outlined in a Fair Labor Standard Act fact sheet, there's a problem. That, waiving of a clear statutory requirement to have binding arbitration by a neutral party as its final step is clear and unambiguous.
But this talks about all other grievances shall have level 3 as the final step.
Yes, and level 3 is not a binding neutral party. Isn't level 3 at the school board?
Correct.
Yeah.
But this is our current language.
I know, and it's a
Correct.
waiver. It is not what the statute says.
Okay, well, that's why we want to study it, and that's why we said that we need more
We don't
time.
disagree.
Yeah.
That it needs to be addressed.
This is like, to me, is as serious or more serious than equalized pay. Equalized pay, we've looked at fact sheets. It's not here it is, black and white in the statute. And we can talk more about it here internally, but there are ways to get waivers out of the contract, and I don't want to go that route.
Okay,
Let's move.
I'm hearing
But I
you.
think that particular piece is.
that's the piece you want
That is
to
a really
revisit.
big rock. We can probably work through a lot of the other step things, but that's a real,
Okay,
especially with this equalized pay thing, because it's like, how can we allow it here, but not on here, so.
all right, 22.2.2. We're good with this, correct? That's okay, so a grievant is the persons, or the association itself alleging a violation of this agreement.
It's not just making a claim, because.
Correct. So we can TA that piece. 22.3. We have nothing to TA there.
So you want to keep that a party of interest? 22.2.3.
Oh, no, I was going all the way down to 22.3.
I was just going
I'm
item by
sorry.
item.
No, I
And I
missed
know
that one.
the one I gave to you is all in red, but there is,
I know.
wish I had one in.
No, you're good. They have the blue.
Okay.
I just have the original because I got
Okay.
2 copies.
So 22.2.3, right now it talks about a party of interest is the person or persons making the claim, and any person who might be required to take action or against whom action might be taken in order to resolve the claim. So kind of keeping with that this is a grievance procedure, it's not a claim, that a representative is an individual designated by the association or by the grievant if the association is not providing representation to represent and act on behalf of the grievant throughout the grievance process. Because I think this, it was kind
talk
of,
about that
it was
one?
kind of
Okay.
vague, where it was like, party of interest, like,
Okay,
we just want.
I'll come back with that one. I
Okay.
didn't have a good note on that one.
It's okay.
All right. 22.3, we would propose that it stays as is. 22.4, we would want it to stay as is, except for 22.4.5, 22.4.6, 22.4.7, and 22.4.8. We are in agreement to change aggrieved to grievant and he, his, her to their.
I'm just making notes.
Sure.
Okay. Then I got all those, and then 22.5.1.
That one, there's nothing proposed there. Then 22.5, we have leave as is. 20. oh,
So
sorry.
not insert, a grievance may be withdrawn at any time at any step of the process.
Correct.
And a grievance may be amended prior to the official appointment of an arbitrator by submitting an amended grievance on the grievance form.
Correct.
Okay.
Then 22.6, going to 22.6.2, we would just want to counter with, in place of the word reprisal, retaliation. There shall be no retaliation against any employee for processing a grievance or participating in the grievance process.
Okay. That's fine.
Then going to 22.7.1. We are in agreement with this, but would want to change area leadership director to regional superintendent.
Okay.
That's the last word in that last.
So it would
3
be
words.
with their
Regional superintendent.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. And then looking at 22.8.1. We are comfortable with TAing it if we leave in with a copy to the general manager for employee relations, either directly or through the associate's representative after a decision by the aforesaid supervisor.
All right.
And
I
I think
don't
what
know if
you'll,
we'll TA, but I've made a note to
Okay.
keep, so.
okay. And then all the rest is process change. So we would want to leave as is.
22.8.2. Do you keep
Keep the rest.
20
as
and
is.
keep 22.8.2, the party?
Correct, correct.
There's another part in here that was, I wanted to make sure I talked about. Okay, so I think I'm good. I understand all of the 22.8.2 to 22.9.7, because that's all. And then keeping level 4 you know, so all that would, all those little changes.
Yeah.
What about 22.9.3, where the arbitration shall proceed? Oh, well, never mind, because you're not.
Mhm. Correct.
But level 4 is arbitration, is that correct?
Currently, yes.
Okay, so then, yeah, so then the arbitration shall proceed according to the rules of the agency appointing the arbitrator and the reasonable requests and orders of the arbitrator. The arbitration hearing shall be held at the association office unless the parties mutually agree to an alternate location. Is there a problem with
We'll discuss that.
arbitration proceeding with, you know, either AAA or FMCS?
We'll, when we caucus, we'll look
Okay.
at that one.
Okay.
So we'll look at that. We'll look at,
And then I would
go ahead.
urge you to also look at 22.10.2. The arbitrator shall have no power to alter, add to, subtract from, disregard, or modify any of the terms of this agreement. I think that's an important protection of this agreement between the parties.
Okay.
And I think even with arbitration hearings, I think there's some other language in here that's important to look at. The arbitration decision, when following procedures set forth in this agreement, shall be final and binding on the association, its members, the employee, and the board, because that's what arbitration is. You know, looking at when arbitration is held during the work hours. And then each party shall itself bear the cost of preparing and presenting its case. I mean, I think some of these things are pretty standard, but important.
Okay.
So, okay, I think I have, you know, we've got some things to look at, you got some things to look at on that.
Okay.
Okay, and
Yeah.
then I gave you all the little names and stuff like that.
Yes, I have that.
Alright. So it's 12:30 and lunch is probably getting cold. Sorry. No, that's okay. Do we want to maybe take like a working lunch and come back at like 1:30? Is that good?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we're ready whenever,
Okay.
however long you guys.
That way it gives us some time to get our food and talk about and. All right, so we were looking at page 6. This is the drug and alcohol in workplace. So we understand and appreciate that the board has their policy language, but clearly that has changed because this actually with the illegal, it's T8 above and 2.3.3, and it had been previously T8 that way. So that's. We can agree to everything, but that illegal controlled substance, and I think, I mean, otherwise it could just be what it was before. But it had been previously, I was looking back in the notes that it had been previously TA'd that way and is already TA'd above for distribution of illegal controlled substances. So.
Well, and I think obviously distribute, purchase, solicit, manufacture. I think we're all
Yeah.
on the same page that you can't do that with
Correct.
any controlled substance. So is the
issue is just that possess, you know, I mean, and look, we get it. Medical marijuana is not something that is legal for school district employees, so that's clear.
Right.
But it just, I think that's the thing, like, if it's illegal, it's illegal, but if it's a control, we're just concerned about if there's any controlled substance, that's the sticking point. And I think we agree, like, yeah, we shouldn't be distributing, purchasing, soliciting, but it's just that concern of if I've got a prescription that happens to be in my bag, that's where it comes from. So, but otherwise, I think, you know, as far as the intent, like but it has been all previously agreed to this way. And if it's just a matter of policy language, well, you know, it's changed twice now in the last year, so. So that's all.
Can I ask what would be an example of an illegal controlled substance? What do we? Because you
Well,
wouldn't
I
have
mean-
a prescription for an illegal. controlled
Correct, but when it says controlled substance, because you guys don't want the term illegal. we
Yeah.
just, that's what we would like to be clear that it's legal.
Now, our current, do you have the current language right there?
This is the language that had been TA'd. Let's see here.
Post-it? Britt, may I borrow a post-it, please? Thank you.
So the current language, employees shall not use, possess, transfer, or sell any alcohol or non-prescribed controlled substances during work hours, including lunch breaks and or rest periods. So, there's a lot of changes here, right? The manufacturing, the distribution, all of those things, like, we agree, like, we don't want that going on. But again, in 2.3.3 above, A, there was convictions which indicate the use of, it used to say hard drugs or dealings in drugs. So we have updated that to say convictions in which indicate the use or distribution of illegal controlled substances. Like, I think it's like, we were very clear there, right? Like, we should not be dealing in possessing, manufacturing. So why now here is it?
Well, and there wouldn't be a
issue.
conviction for the use or possession of something if it was prescribed, right? So that's where that conviction is different, but we hear you.
Yeah.
And we share that there need to be some
Policy updates.
updates.
So hence why we just want to be very clear, like, yeah, I mean, illegal, like, and I know this does go down to the medical marijuana, like, this is an issue in Florida. And we get questions about it a lot, but that's very clearly not legal for our people. So that's where, but there may be controlled substances that are prescribed medications that are not medical marijuana. And that's just, and maybe it's too in the weeds, but it's like, we have it here, not here, and what we TA'd it here last year, and yeah. But I think everything else, it's just, that's all.
We understand.
Yeah.
So let us add and shift some language. We will come back with that.
All right. So on the comp time issue, I mean, I know that we're like in a position where, we're trying to add language and we understand that the response right now is no, but we just want to reiterate the point that, I mean, when we're picking and choosing, what acts we're going to follow and what laws we're going to follow, we really did believe that this was a way to kind of make changes to something that could very just drastically be, well, let's just follow the act then. So that's all I can say is that it's frustrating we had this discussion. It's frustrating for employees to be told, well, we're not going to do this here, but we're going to absolutely enforce it over here on this other thing. And this is all tied to pay. And some of our lowest paid employees in the district. And it's incredibly frustrating. So.
And we are committed to looking at it. And I completely understand that. And it's not something that we're going to look at far in advance, like in the future. We're going to start looking at it now.
Yeah. And I think, I don't think it's something that there was no interest to do another committee. But it's really got to be an active, participation in these weekly meetings, that it's not, whether we keep it as kind of a standing item on our agenda.
Agreed.
But yeah, it's just, and especially when you've got, I understand, I think, I appreciate the clarification for our HSEF unit, but you know how it is. How can they have it over here and we don't get it? So it just, we've got to be really committed to that. So I guess, and for 6.2.2, I know we need to get the DHH interpreters in there.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I guess that's all we can do for now.
Correct.
But I will be putting in the notes that, the board is committed to this full study, that this must be addressed. So I don't know if you want to say anything else on it.
No.
Okay. So in 6.2.2, we'll TA the striking of the ESE bus, ESE attendant riders and including the DHH interpreters.
Yes.
And then we would strike out the pay equal to the employee's rate. Or just keep the rest of that the same.
Keep the rest of the section,
Yeah.
the whole thing
Yeah.
the same.
And then this DHH interpreter is down here.
Correct.
All right, so on the next page, 15, experience credit, work hours, okay. I've got a little scribbly scratchy note here. We will agree to the earned after July 1, 2023, 8.1.1 for the clerical employees shall be given salary credit for all related experience as a clerical employee earned after July 1, 2023.
All right.
So we'll TA that. Let's scribble through my notes here. No on the 8.2, no on the 9. That's how we TA. Okay. Down at the bottom, we have just a slight change. So yeah, when we get to that sentence, ESE paraprofessionals, assistant teachers and aides are not entitled to schedule breaks. We would like it to say, our counter is every effort will be made by administration to give a bathroom break when needed rather than necessary, because it's, you know, like we said, you gotta go. And while still maintaining appropriate student supervision. So rather than consideration, every effort will be made and when needed instead of necessary. Hold on. Okay. So I don't know if you to TA this one and
That's
hold
all
on that one or.
Yeah.
Scribble
No,
scratch.
that's
And then very much similar on the 9.2.5 on the next page for the physical therapy assistants, health assistants, nurses, and occupational therapists shall be 8 hours, including paid lunch. So we took out the, it should be their paid lunch. But we would also like to have that same sentence. Every effort will be made by administration to give a bathroom break when needed while still maintaining appropriate student supervision.
Okay.
So. Looks like that, or be like indicated.
Is it the exact same language as the previous?
Every effort will be made.
Got it.
By administration to give a bathroom break when needed, while still maintaining appropriate student supervision.
Got it.
Okay. Same with page 39, 18.9.2. This ties into the comp time.
Yeah.
Keep. All right, insurance committee.
Yes.
So I think we can work this out. The board and association recognize the importance of maintaining and balancing quality health and other insurance for employees, period. We're okay with striking, you know, the program. Towards these end, a joint insurance committee will be established. We do really feel strongly that for the purpose of putting forth recommendations that shall be subject to negotiations is important. We know that the recommendations that come from that committee, again, if there's an impact on wages, benefits, terms and conditions of employment, that's a subject of bargaining. Not that, okay, we're gonna go with this provider or anything like that. That's not what we're saying. So, you know, we're good with striking that, but would like to keep that for the purposes of putting forth recommendations that shall be subject to bargaining or subject to negotiations.
Okay.
On 24.5.2, the insurance committee will review and analyze the health insurance plan and any other insurance plans mutually agreeable to the parties. We're good with striking the rest of that sentence. We do want to have something in there about no less than
15 days, we don't know if maybe you guys discussed that.
Yep.
Okay, I mean, we're good with a counter, because I think that's already going on. I mean, my first few weeks here I was sent stuff well in advance to
Right.
kind of look through it. And,
Yeah.
you know, you gotta be able to log in, and
Mm-hmm.
so, no less than some amount of days
Mm-hmm.
open to a counter there. Prior to each meeting, the board shall provide all committee members with a copy of the most recent reports available from the provider and or providers being evaluated. Now, if there's some wordsmithing that needs to be done there about whatever the reports are, you know, the documentation, because I know it can be different. Maybe it's an RFP, or it is a report or something. But whatever those documents are that have to be, that's the goal there.
Got it.
And then we're good. We're okay for now with not including 24.5.3.
All right.
Okay. All right, and then on the 27 agreement for the expiration dates, we were good with what Mr. Gibson suggested. If either party desires to make changes in the agreement, the parties must inform each other of the intent set forth for the desired changes prior to the expiration of the contract.
Okay.
So we made like a little.
Okay.
One here. And then same on the 27.2.2, if either party desires to make changes in the agreement, the parties must inform each other of the intent set forth. Should say, it doesn't sound right now when I'm reading it out loud.
Say it again.
If either party desires to make changes in the agreement, the parties must inform each other of the intent to set forth the desired change. I was missing that word too, never mind. Prior to expiration of the contract.
Got it.
Yeah. We're getting there.
We are getting really.
Now, I don't know if you guys had time to look at these.
No, but I will get you updated.
All right, grievance procedure.
Okay.
So I know we said we would TA 22.1.1. And the 22.2.1, this is 43, page 43.
Yeah.
Grievance, yeah. Again, we're very strong and very, you know, there's a lot that we're willing to say keep, but that in particular, only grievances based on a dispute involving misinterpretation or misapplication of the agreement shall be arbitrable. All other grievances shall have level 3 as a final step.
So
feel
at
very
some
strongly
point,
about striking that.
obviously, it was before any of us were here, but somebody put that in,
Mhm.
right? So until we relook at the entire process, and we're not saying that we won't, but when we look at the whole process as a review, then we would be willing to revisit that, obviously. But for right now, that's in there. That
And
was
it's a
put in it.
waiver, and
Mhm.
the process to remove the waiver is long and holds a lot of things up. The way removing a waiver is through impasse. So, I mean, I guess we'll have to discuss that. I mean, of all the other changes in this particular article, I don't understand why that particular one is, well, you know, you can't give that one a point, it's clear.
It's
And
just-
you've clearly
it's not that
taken
we're not
away-
willing, it's until we have all of this
Okay.
reviewed.
All right. All right, so let's move through, and maybe once we show you what we're willing to keep, that maybe it will be easier to
Okay.
remove that. 22.2.2, I think we're good at TAing that.
That is correct.
22.2.3, I had asked that you kind of relook at that. A representative is an individual designated by the association or the grievant. If the association is not providing representation to represent and act for and on behalf of the grievant throughout the grievance procedure.
Yep, we are okay with
You're okay
TAing
with
that.
Okay. All right, so the board's desire was to keep 22.3.1, 22.3.2,
Correct.
and keep 22.3.3 as is. We will be okay with that.
1, 2, and 3, got it.
Mhm. Okay with keeping 22.4.1.
Wait, what's 22 point, give me one,
Sorry.
22.3.1, 22.3.2.
Mhm.
Which one is 22.3.3? Wait. Oh, here it is.
Yeah, there was
Okay.
a large bit of language that we were
Yeah.
proposing.
Mhm.
So we would keep 22.3.3 to say the ESP may request the building representative to be present at any meetings or conference related to an employee's conduct or performance.
Got it. Yeah, my numbers
So
are
that
just a
would
little
remain.
off.
That's
Okay.
okay. I know, because, well, yeah, with the
I have the
proposed
old.
striking, yeah.
Okay, got it.
And then all of the 22.4 miscellaneous,
Mhm.
keeping 22.4.1 as it is, in the judgment of the association, a grievance affected, if a grievance affects a class of ESP employees, the association may submit, all of that language remains the same. We would keep it.
Okay.
22.4.4. So forms,
Mhm.
I went to try to find a form the other day and I don't know what a form is. How would I get a form? You have to ask someone for it.
I mean, I know it's on the SharePoint for the employees,
Mhm.
but yeah, I can give you the most recent form
So-
that's been approved by the forms
so-
committee, but it needs to be revised because it's more than, it's out of date.
Okay.
Mhm.
So this was why the proposal there was the form to be used in filing a grievance, or the grievance form is provided in Appendix A. Rather than all of this,
Mhm.
because yeah, like if you are somewhere and you can't access it, can it just be in the contract? It's all the contracts I've negotiated there. Yeah.
Right, but right now, the one that we would put in there is the current, which I believe 2016 is the latest.
Okay.
The most recent,
So that's the reason.
Okay,
Needs to be fixed.
okay,
unless you want to put 2016 form in the appendix until we revise it through the forms committee. Well, we would revise it, obviously, as a
Yeah.
part of, impact bargain that, and then we would send it to
Okay.
the forms committee.
all right,
So however you want to,
all right, so I guess. Do you have a copy of the form that you can even email me? so I could look at it?
absolutely.
'Cause one thing we could maybe do here is just, keep it simple
Absolutely.
and maybe have a way to settle that particular piece.
Okay.
On page 45, 22.4.5, 22.4.6, 22.4.7, 22.4.8, all good there. And procedures, so we would withdraw the 22.5.2 about the withdrawal at any time in the process. We're okay with changing reprisals for retaliation. And then we're good with the changes on 22.7.1, which would be all of those changes we proposed there, and then change area leadership to regional superintendent.
Got it.
So maybe that one you can actually. All right, on the next page, page 46, level 2, 22.8.1. I think what you had countered with was taking all the changes, but as long as we kept with a copy to the general manager for employee relations, either directly or through the association's representative, after decision by the aforesaid supervisor. We're good with that.
Okay.
And then, all the rest, 22.8.2 to 22.8.6, keeping that, the 22.8.7, all hearings held at level 2 shall be closed sessions and no news release shall be made concerning progress of the hearings. I think that is an infringement on the rights of an association to organize when it comes to, press releases or things like that, what's going on. So we would like to strike that, or at least come up with some compromise that, a news release no news release shall be made concerning progress of the hearings. That's, I mean, that's a right of an organization to organize around employee issues and workplace. So we believe that's also a waiver.
Okay.
But everything else we would keep.
Okay.
So all of the 22.9 level 3 would remain. Keep 22.10, all the same, keep. We would, and hope that you revisited on the 22.10.3. The arbitration shall proceed according to the rules of the agency appointing the arbitrator and the reasonable requests and orders of the arbitrator. The arbitration hearing shall be held at the association office unless the parties mutually agree to an alternate location. We hope that you had some
Are you
time
looking
to-
at 0.9.3?
Well, it was the new
the
20
old.
yeah, 22.9.3.
Got it.
22.10.3 or what would have been the new 22.9.3.
All
Just
right.
talked about following the rules of those particular agencies. Um,
Okay, so we did revisit.
okay,
Our counter
Mhm.
would be once you get to where, your new proposed language is.
Mhm.
So the arbitration shall proceed according to the rules of the agency appointing the arbitrator,
Mhm.
period.
Okay,
Scratch and the reasonable requests and orders of the arbitrator.
Mhm.
Then we would want to counter with the arbitration hearing shall be held at a location mutually agreed upon by the parties. I'm pausing because there's more.
Yeah. Mutually agreed.
Upon by the parties
Mhm.
or as ordered by the arbitrator if the parties cannot come to an agreement.
Okay. I think we're good on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a little more to go over there, but
Okay.
is that top one, right?
Got it.
Am I really messing handwriting?
Get ready to stop messing.
All right.
Back to the other.
Alright, so then at the end here, did you have time to look at the 22.10.2?
We did.
The arbitrator shall have no power to alter, add, to subtract from, disregard, or modify any of the terms of this agreement.
Yes. Okay, so we are in agreement with 22.10.2,
Okay,
22.10.6,
okay,
and 22.10.7.
okay,
Wait, hold on, sorry. 22.10.4.
mhm,
We don't think that's necessary because it's the last sentence in 22.10.1, or at least very similar.
true.
The
Okay,
decision of the arbitrator shall be final and binding upon the association and the board.
Yep.
So we feel like that's already there. And then, we would not want to put in 22.10.5 until we get all the other, stuff kind of worked out.
all right. That's a fair horse trade there. Sounds good.
It did. I was like, she got there.
Alright, so that leaves, I think, 22.2.1.
Thank you, this one.
Yep.
I promise I'll bring some next time.
It's okay. So the 22.2.1, that last sentence,
Mhm.
2 sentences. I think we're good on, we've TA'd. I mean,
Understand.
we have agreed to tentatively agree.
Mhm.
And then on 22.4.4 for the grievance form. And then 22.8.7. All hearings held at level 2 shall be closed sessions and no news release shall be made concerning progress of all the hearings or of the hearings. Other than that,
Everything else we worked through, right?
I mean, there's a few things kind of pending that we've agreed to, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, if we can get those other 3 resolved, I think we can settle then.
Which ones are you looking at? that you're
So
talking about?
we're good with 22.1.1. Aggrieved person to grievant.
Yeah.
And that, but then 22.2.1. We want to look
We
at
want to look at
those
that
2
one part.
sentences.
Okay.
22.2.2, making those changes. A grievant is the persons or the association itself alleging a violation of this agreement. That's a TA.
Correct.
And then changing 22.2.3, a representative, we're striking the first part about a party of
Mhm.
interest and then defining a representative.
Okay.
And
And we
then,
TA'd that, correct? Okay.
I mean, I have mine, but. And
You
then
just want to wait till we have that top
Yeah, I
part.
think
got
that
you.
would be good, because, I mean,
Okay.
then on page 44.
Yeah.
We were conceding on all this here, right, all these changes,
Mm-hmm.
but we'd really like to look at that 22.4.4 on the grievance form.
Got it.
And if you can send it to me, maybe we can work on it today and.
Yeah.
Come up with something. And then on 46, 22.8.1, we will agree to the changes and keep the language of the copy going to general manager of employee relations,
Yeah.
but we'd like, and then keeping all the rest of the language, 22.8.2, 8.3, 8.4, but the 22.8.7, all hearings at level 2 shall be in closed sessions and no news releases shall be made concerning progress of the hearings.
And
The
you
main-
just
the
want
main
that
issue
struck
there-
all the way?
Yeah, the main
Okay.
issue there is the ability to, communicate to the press. I mean, that's a
Mhm.
right of
Mhm.
employees to organize around workplace conditions. So
Mhm.
that's more what that's about.
Okay.
So those are,
I
there's a
got
lot
that.
we can TA on, there's a lot we can give up, but those are 3 kind of sticking points in this article.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Maybe we can for-
Maybe, probably.
word that.
Way 2.2.1 that
Mhm.
you are strong about. Does anybody know the genesis of that language? I don't. So
I
I'm
do not.
throwing that out
That's
there.
why it's like, why is it there? Because it seems like a very clear waiver. I know, the only thing I can see, the ESP contract, when you look at the discipline language, which is on page. The disciplinary procedures in Article 13. I was reading it earlier. That all ESPs may use the grievance process for violations of contractual termination procedures. So in the instructional contract, in the disciplinary section, there's also a waiver there where it says explicitly that matters of termination and suspension cannot be arbitrated.
Mhm.
And I don't know why it would be there and not here. But it's a problem. I mean, I think with how, we talk a lot about this and we deal with this a lot in our labor management. Everything's so politicized right now.
Right.
To have your entire career, whether you're terminated or suspended, subject only to a school board that is becoming even more and more politicized, that is risky in the environment we're in. I don't think it has nothing to do with any person in this district right now or you, or it is preparing for the future, because just in my 5 months here, the things that we're having to deal with,
are scary. The allegations of things that have nothing to do with true misconduct. It's literally someone's opinion. Put someone in a position that, well, now the board is, forced to terminate because for whatever reason, and then they also they're the final decision. That just seems contradictory in the environment we live in right now. And it's important for employees to understand that if they're in a situation where their career is ended, that they have the ability to have access to the Florida statute required ability to have a mutually agreed upon neutral party with legal binding arbitration. That is, I know there was a lot of stuff here that, my predecessor was interested in revamping and looking at, but when I saw that I am shocked and amazed.
Okay.
So
Nope.
that's a big sticking point.
That's important for us to hear what the, rationale is behind it.
And I don't know the history, politics were different back then, maybe. I don't know when it was added. I haven't had time in my 5 months to do a full research of the catalog.
Been a little busy.
Contract here,
It's
but
been a little busy.
yeah, so yeah.
Okay.
So that's the issue there. But I
Okay.
think we made some good progress in improving some good improvements that clarify, the rest of the procedure we can look at. I agree with you. I came from districts where there was no school board hearing, just went arbitration. I came from one where you had school board hearing and then arbitration. I came from where you had the option of no hearing arbitration. So I mean,
Okay.
there are ways, but in all of those scenarios, arbitration or a legally binding arbitration or some kind of process was there. Not a school board hearing.
Okay, fair enough. Any other questions that we need in order to?
I was gonna ask if I could email this for you to print out for the review.
Yes.
It's substance abuse.
Yeah.
And a new proposal that obviously they haven't even seen yet.
So I will print it blindly.
That's okay.
Yes, you can, we'll, I guess pockets and maybe caucus time, is that where we're at here?
Yeah, I would say 30.
Okay. Make sure.
Email to you and then you.
No. Either way.
Here, I can write my email down.
Oh, it doesn't pop up. Gotcha.
Cross now and then. if
We
they're-
need to look at it and do our counter.
Oops.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, I'll print it down on the 34 and
Perfect.
you just
Okay.
need one copy?
We do three,
3.
four, in case for each choice.
Okay. Now we're ready. All right, so we have language for 3.1.1. And I'm gonna give you the 2 copies that went to the printer.
Okay.
And one for me. All right. Yep, so we think this addresses some of the concerns, but also still will align to the current policy. So this would say, yeah. Employees shall not manufacture, possess, distribute, purchase, solicit, or dispense any illegal controlled substances, marijuana, or alcohol at any time while on district property or while involved in any district-related activity or event. Employees shall not partake in the use of marijuana or alcohol while on district property or while involved in any district-related activity or event. Employees shall not partake in the use of marijuana, alcohol, or controlled substances during or outside their work hours in such a manner as to impair their performance or be observed or detected during work hours. Compare.
Yeah. So I appreciate that we kept the illegal because that was important, but it was omitted in the last sentence. Is there a reason why? We
Shall not use marijuana, alcohol, or controlled substance during or outside in such a manner as to impair.
Is there a reason we
Okay.
took illegal there, left it at the top and
For example, in the last sentence,
Uh-huh.
we wouldn't want somebody using Xanax,
Mhm.
a legal controlled substance, in such a way as to impair their performance.
Okay,
That's
Okay.
what the intent is.
got it.
It's not about not using it, just don't use it
Okay.
to impair your performance.
Understood.
Okay.
All right. I appreciate that effort.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it with the team. We'll make sure everybody understands.
Perfect. All right, then. All right, 9.2.4. All right. So we would like to counter your counter of the counter. All right, so instead of every effort, we are proposing that it says reasonable effort. So reasonable effort will be given by the administration to provide a restroom break when necessary while still maintaining appropriate student supervision. We still think it's important to have when necessary so that there's not, obviously it probably can't be every 30 minutes, so that was when necessary, needed. I know those are very similar words, but we feel that it should still read necessary and that reasonable effort. And I think this addresses what the concern was, that, right, it currently says no breaks. But this will put in there that it's an expectation that you work with your employees that, and I don't think it's an overarching issue, but obviously, Johnny, you've had people reach out to you and there's a reason you're bringing this up. So this will help hopefully those leaders know that it is expected that you are to make reasonable effort to assist employees when necessary.
So just to be clear, reasonable effort will be given by administration
To provide
to provide
a restroom break when necessary while still maintaining appropriate student supervision.
okay.
Okay. All right, so that's 9.2.4. Then 9.2.5, your request was to put the same type of language for the physical therapy assistants, health assistants, nurses. And we would propose that the same language we just countered with be added to the back side of that
Should
section.
be here and
Correct.
there.
Then. All right, so now 24.5.1. Okay. So we are good with adding back for the purpose of putting forth recommendations that shall be subject to negotiations in
Okay.
24.5.1. And then 24.5.2, we would want it to read, and you already had this part, but the insurance committee will review and analyze the health insurance plan and any other insurance plans mutually agreed to by the parties, period.
Do you want to say agreed to by the parties or agreeable to? the
Oh,
parties?
no, agreeable to the parties,
just
sorry.
making sure.
No, I just
Okay.
read it wrong.
Period.
Agreeable to the parties, period.
Uh-huh.
Then we struck that, and then, sorry. The board shall provide all committee members with a copy of the most recent reports available from the provider and or providers being evaluated as soon as, within a reasonable period prior to each meeting. We spoke with Dr. Schatzberg, and she usually does get it within 15 days,
Yeah.
but she is at the will of those providers.
Yeah.
So she would hope that she can get it to you that early, but just in case she doesn't, if she only gets it 5 days ahead of time, then she can only give it to you 5 days ahead of time.
Yeah, so say that again. So the board
Sure.
shall provide it, all committee members with a copy of the most recent
Recent
reports
reports
available
available
from the
from-
provider and or providers being evaluated
Within a reasonable period prior to each meeting.
That's That's what we're going for, not,
No, we knew.
okay.
agenda. All right, so I know how strongly you feel about 22.2.1 and 22.8.7, right? Those are two things that you mentioned would be waivers. We don't know that they weren't waivers. We don't know what process there was or what wasn't done. So what we would like to do is we are going to go back historically and find out when was this put in. We have no idea when it was put in or the rationale behind it, but your predecessors and our predecessors made that agreement for some reason, and we don't know what that reason was. So we would like to leave it as is until we can do some research, and then if we can, you know, maybe at a future time, we can revisit that. But we don't have enough information.
The process to put a waiver in the contract is the
Mhm.
parties come together and say, hey, do you want to put this in here? And the other says, yeah, and it's in there. And then, I mean, it's just negotiations, but
Right.
I mean, I think I made it pretty clear the reason why moving forward.
Yes.
I can't imagine why the school board would say, well, we have to find out what happened however many years ago to be okay with it, when it's clearly a violation right now. By taking such a firm stance on other topics that are not as clearly defined in the statute. I am at a loss. I really am. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to discuss, you know, steps on this.
Okay.
Because that, I hate to, you know, we've, you know, on the equalized pay topic, and I hate that I have to keep bringing it up, but we said we would work with you on that one, which is not clearly defined. I mean, it's based on interpretations and opinions. This is not, it's right here. Florida Statute 447.401. Each public employer and bargaining agent shall negotiate a grievance procedure to be used for the settlement of disputes between employer and employee or a group of employees involving the interpretation and application of a collective bargaining agreement. Such grievance procedure shall have at its terminal step a final binding disposition by an impartial, neutral, mutually selected by the parties. It is clear. It is not in something that, oh, well, we gotta kind of read and then follow the breadcrumbs. And of all the things that we're seeking in this particular article, for all the reasons we described, I mean. I
But
don't get
wouldn't the reasons you've talked about,
Mhm.
wouldn't those already be involving the misapplication of the agreement? So what,
Yeah, the misapplication of the agreement also includes discipline.
right, but
Discipline
that's
is the-
already in here that we can
But what this-
arbitrate that.
This says that only grievances based upon a dispute involving the misinterpretation are arbitrable. And unless you are willing to say that maybe there's a way we can take grievances based on dispute involving misinterpretation, misapplication, termination, suspension, and discipline.
So the key driving factor behind this is termination.
Yeah, when it comes to employee discipline.
Say it again, termination, suspension.
Suspension, discipline, anything that has to do with the discipline procedure. And I think, like I said, we pointed it out in the instructional contract.
Mhm.
It's not as clearly defined here, but yeah, why does it only say only grievances? I mean,
Don't know, and that's, you know,
it shouldn't matter. I mean, if I've been terminated or I'm in a suspension situation. All right.
then the grievance form, I sent it to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk with staff and others about that form. Cause I see what you mean, like it's 2016 and they're done every 5 years.
They they are supposed to be brought to the forms committee, to be reviewed every 5 years. That one's a little different to me because it's not just, that's a form that's more about, that has to be negotiated. It's not just me saying, I want to bring a form to the forms committee, right?
Right.
We need to,
Yeah, and that's the thing, because I was looking at it, that's the first I've seen that. It does look like it's kind of trying to take a form and be a catch-all. That there's, it may be if you're non-represented, or if you're a parent, or
Mhm.
something like that.
correct.
And ours, I think there's maybe a simpler way, we can just be like, this is very simple, this has to do with our collective bargaining agreement.
Right.
And issues related to employment, so.
My recommendation would be that we don't, and I know why you want to put it here so people can find it, but if we don't put it in here and we get to some closure with contract language, then nothing stops us from moving forward with negotiating what we want that form to look like, because I think that's necessary. There's actually a lot of confusion with that form. I get parents submitting it and I'm like, this is not something that should be coming through employee relations, right? It's
right.
not, it should be a completely different thing.
Yep.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, no, I
Because my
do think it
understanding,
needs
there's
to be
some
looked
history
at.
here of a form that had been used for a long time, and then it probably got convoluted, so.
That I don't know. I only know
I'll work with
this one.
staff too, that,
Right,
those have been working on grievances for a long time here. so.
correct. And that we are way open to, looking at that form and adjusting it.
22.8.7.
Same thing as 22.2.1. We want to go back and find out why was that even put in? Now, obviously, closed, level 3, an arbitration would be different, but this is just for level 2.
Would you be willing to keep all hearings held at level 2 shall be in closed sessions, but strike and no news releases shall be made? Happy?
We'll talk about it.
Okay. I have a thought. All right, we will look at that.
All, other than, cause like I've got a form, and it's just about ready, I think I can like whip something together for a proposed form. Do you guys any effort
Yes,
on
I
these?
can, no, we were too busy doing that.
Okay, do you need extra copies?
No, I have it downstairs.
Okay.
Yep.
So are we good on this?
No, I want to add Dr.
the-
Patton.
Okay,
Yeah. Yes.
whenever I typed that, it was, were you here?
You're not supposed to. Okay, just checking. You're my advisor.
Kicking me off the team?
I'm just checking. I wasn't sure. I didn't see it last
I
time.
heard that.
Rebecca. Sorry. Frank. All right, so we have. Yeah. Yep, that would be correct.
Okay. And then, I don't know, if you wanna look at those.
Yes. Boy. This is your people, right?
Yes. I'm just gonna trust you on your people here.
Yes. I will be doing the same. That's how Heidi spelled her name? H-I-E? Okay.
I know, I always mess up.
Yeah, it just looked different.
I have it right in there, right?
You do.
I'm gonna make you look at it.
No, you
one
have it
time.
right. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, so let us look at the substance, illegal substance language,
Mhm.
look at the reasonable effort on bathroom breaks, and the grievance form. And you guys can talk about splitting the baby on the no news release
Mhm.
and keep searching your hearts on taking that waiver out.
Got it.
Give us about 20 minutes.
Okay. Right. Oh. I slid into the wrong seat.
Okay.
Oops, that's why.
You have the.
Oh, we are down.
No, we're okay.
Okay.
We're okay.
You have the
Sorry,
form.
music stopped. We're supposed to pick up this away.
You have the form in front
We're
of
good,
you.
we're good.
Back to our 22.4.4, the form to be used in filing a grievance or the grievance form is provided within a day. And this is the proposed form. This is from veteran staff here who have used this form in the past. There we go.
All right, let me pull up the.
2 pages, because there's an
Yeah.
appeal.
Slow loading, hold on. Loading the current form. There's a lot taken out here. So wait, name of the person and job title against whom the grievance is filed. The address is taken out. Identify the grounds upon which your grievance is based by circling all which apply. So that's taken out,
Should be describe your grievance.
right? Date the alleged violation took place. Date decision was filed with aggrieved with human resources. Now what happens at level 2 or level 3?
All
Is
the
that the second
appeals on
page?
the second
No,
page.
sorry. Got it.
If you want, I will email this to you.
No, that would be good.
'Cause I think some of the things, seemed easier to start simple and
Yeah.
use something that's been, I could probably get some staff to speak to how long, let's see, it was 1998.
Right, yeah,
And-
and some of your staff have still been giving me this form and I'm like, okay, like I. take
Well,
it,
right,
you
and
know.
if there are things that maybe we can, like I
Yeah.
heard you mention, address, Lawson, things like that. The name of aggrieved or article of the contract, there's some
Mhm.
things that we could clean up.
Yeah,
but-
absolutely, I think it's just about, and I would want the pre-grievance conference information on there. I think that's important because a lot of times people don't even realize that's a part of the process that's necessary, and by having them fill that out, if they haven't done that part, then they realize, oh, I haven't even done that yet, I need to do that before I can even fill this out. So, what I do like on this form that I've always appreciated when someone submits the old form, is the remedy,
Yeah.
remedy sought. Like
Oh, yeah.
that is something that I would like to include in whatever we land on. And ultimately, it's the same thing. I just think we need to,
Yeah, so we
meld
thought,
the two together.
yeah, if we start simple and then,
Mm-hmm.
put just the skeleton and then add a few things in, so I'm
Okay.
going to.
Well, and I think what's important too is that whatever form we land on, I guess I shouldn't assume, but I would think you're wanting it for instructional as well. So I think we don't have that group around this table today. You know,
No, but I mean, I think that each contract belongs to each bargaining unit.
does.
And I mean, clearly this form is coming out of this building, so I think that I'm not too worried about it being too terribly different. I think it's,
I just think for ease, we need to have one form when possible. So understand, but I think that, I mean, there's nothing monumentally different on either of these. I just think that it might be wise to sit down and really dig in. Are you wanting you want to land on a grievance form right now?
why not?
Because it still has to go to the forms committee. It still has, you know,
But-
all those
But
things.
not to be in our collective bargaining agreement. I mean, it's a subject of bargaining,
Mhm.
as is the grievance procedure. So this is a contractual, I mean, form that's in our contract.
Sure.
So, yeah, if we were talking about just having a form floating out there that wasn't part of the collective bargaining agreement, different, but
Okay.
it's not like there's tons and tons of forms attached to the
Mhm.
contract, and then there's contractual provisions for forms. But
Okay.
this is, I mean, this is grievance procedure and collective bargaining agreement. I mean,
Sure,
that's what it's about, so.
absolutely.
Anyway,
right.
that's there.
Okay.
All right, so on 22.8.7. Are we able to split the difference on that particular one and strike out,
No, because
why?
the same reason that we don't want to delete either, because we want to look at what the history was behind it. Obviously, there had to be a waiver that had been negotiated. They had to be, you know, had to be done clearly, had to be clear. And we're committed to looking at it, but we aren't going to be able to change that right now because we don't know the rationale behind why it was put in there, but it is in there.
So I'm just gonna say this, that, freedom of the union to talk about what's going on in the workplace, to use the press, to, exercise those rights is also protected under statute very clearly in chapter 447, 501, which talks about unfair labor practices. So when an employer restricts that right, that is an unfair labor practice. So that's the only reason a lot of some of these sticking points are being brought up, because when they stand out glaringly to me. So I mean, in the interest with this particular, I came up with some language that maybe you'd be willing to consider on the other topic in the grievance procedure. But, you know, these two topics are big, so. Interfering with, restraining, or coercing public employees in the exercise of any rights guaranteed to them under this part. And anything that has to do with organizing, talking about conditions of employment. I mean, that's clear right there too. And I don't care really what was done how many years ago or why. This is the statute now, and I think 447 has been around for a while. So that's my point. I think that, you know, in an effort to get this done, and I'm glad that we've agreed to a 2-year agreement, and impasse is not the route right now. But, you know, if we can't do that, that's, I mean, absolutely has to be part of what is done in the next agreement. So.
Understood. And we can do it sooner.
I mean, we're committed to tackling the grievance process now.
Okay,
Yeah, it
We're not
doesn't
gonna
have to wait 2 years.
That's not our intent.
okay,
Mhm.
all right,
Like we can come to an agreement now, you know, if we're finished, but we can start this process and we know that we can always look to amend things.
okay,
It might be through an MOU process or something until the next one.
But that was my intent.
Yeah.
okay,
We weren't gonna wait 2 years.
I'm not gonna wait 2 years.
okay, all right. All right, so I guess then, some notes here.
Sorry, borrowing the pen that. You are, because I got the wrong seat, so everybody shifted.
This item up here on the 22.8.1, that one, where my name is.
That was the only thing on this page, correct?
Yeah. And then okay, so in our discussion on 22.2.1, where we're not willing to just strike it completely, what I heard in the discussion though was that, if this language, what it could mean or should mean, what I'm proposing now is that sentence says the following: grievances based, so you strike only.
One moment. What page is it again?
43.
Got it.
So it's that last
Yep.
two sentences. So strike only. Grievances based upon a dispute involving the misinterpretation or misapplication of the agreement, including disciplinary action, shall be arbitrable. Period. Strike all other grievances shall have level 3 as their final step.
Say it one more time, please.
Grievances based upon a dispute involving the misinterpretation or misapplication of the agreement, including disciplinary action, shall be arbitrable.
And then leaving all other grievances shall have level 3 as the final
Strike
step.
that.
Still striking that.
What other grievances are there?
We're going to commit to, we need to do some research on this. Yep. And like you said, we're not saying it has to wait till the next agreement. This is something that we can look at now, but we're going to need some time to research the history behind that, as well as the 22.8.7, to make educated decisions on something was put in there for a reason. And we need to do some research on the when and all that.
There are 3 others on there.
Okay. Representative. Got it.
Right, the proposal for 3.1.1, that you printed off.
Yes.
So I guess what I'll say, and it's very frustrating, along with some of these other things that we've just been discussing, that it's difficult to comprehend, even while there's a spirit of, we all know, not even a spirit, we all know our duty in this work is to do what's best for students. But when the fact that we've had to nitpick over language over a bathroom break is, I think, as some in our room have discussed, how it feels like inhumane treatment. So we're going to agree to this language, but I think it's important that you all understand that the fact that we even had to take this long on it is very frustrating for the employees that this impacts. So we hope that this will open the door, that it's not that we even have to discuss, well, why can't we even have just a 15-minute break? So we're going to agree to this, but I think I just have to convey that message from employees.
We're talking about the.
Yep, about oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's where I was confused. I'm sorry.
On the reasonable effort, sorry, on the bathroom.
Got it. Okay. That's where I was a little bit confused. Sorry.
That is
9.2.4.
9.2. Well, it's 3 and 9.2.5.
Got it. Yes, yes, yes.
Left, right.
Got it.
So that's the reasonable effort.
Got it. Okay, 9.2.3 and 9.2.5.
And again, just that, you know, the fact that it wouldn't even be every effort is frustrating for folks that, you know, good grief, you know, just use the bathroom. So, that's what I gotta say about that.
No, that's right. Oh, thanks.
And then finally,
Yeah.
we'll-
Why I was confused.
yeah, I knew that there were two.
No, I understood.
But then on the, drug and alcohol, 3.1.1.
Yes.
We'll accept that.
Okay. That all of them? Well. Now, let's talk about this real quick. I don't want us to be in a. You want to. Are you comfortable with us taking this, reviewing it with
Emailed
our
you,
people?
I
Okay,
emailed it to you.
all right, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I was looking at some different forms and different contracts I've worked in,
Mhm.
and they're all similar.
Right.
You know, but I understand, you know, things like contact information. and
Right.
There's a telephone, but loss of number, that's something that's important here.
It would be, and,
But
and I do think less is more, because I think our current
Mhm.
form has created some confusion
Yes.
that it's the one for employees regarding, you know, contract issues, and one that might be for ESE students, and one for parents, and there's definitely been a lot of confusion with that, so I think making it very clear that this is the employee grievance form for
Right.
CTA makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I mean, even, I mean, I don't think there's gonna be any problem out of, you know, this building for them to mirror each other in each collective bargaining agreement. However, they are separate agreements for different employee classifications, so, you know, even if the form, you know, indicates something that this is for ESPs or teachers, instructional, whatever.
Okay.
And
if it is different, then I just think we have to make that very
Yeah,
clear, because people end up
absolutely.
using the wrong
Yes.
forms, and, you know,
But I-
ultimately
I
it is
agree
the
with
same.
you, even, you know, for us in internal use, it's makes more sense for it to be the same. So I don't foresee any problem on that.
And it would be great if we can make it a editable PDF. Like right now, everything's
Yep.
being done handwritten, and then it has to be scanned. So I think
Yep.
with the technology gurus on our teams, we'll be able to get that to work.
Absolutely.
I don't know if she's listening, but by that I mean Jessica Doherty. No, she's the one that is really good at creating all of that.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
So, I know we just have some other work to do, you know, in the meantime, you know, we'll be contacting about setting up for the equalized pay committee. We've got information on unit clarification. And who knows, a bunch of other things I'm forgetting, but the main thing will be ratification.
Well, and I know I can feel the mood in the room, right? But this is a good day. Like this was a lot of work and it's been like 3 years in the making. We've been going through this contract language because it was on hold for so long. And we made a lot of agreements. We TA'd a lot of language. And it doesn't mean that the work's done, right? It doesn't mean that we stop talking about things. We're not a board, and you're not a union that we do this and then we don't talk to each other for another 2 years. That's not how we operate. And we will continue to have these conversations to make things the best we can for employees.
I'll just, you know, my only thought on that is that, you know, sometimes, you know, maybe in recent history or several years, there are promises that are made, and, you know, things fall by the wayside. And I know that, you know, the biggest one of the biggest hurdles that we've got to overcome is dealing with those pay factors, right? What people are bringing home.
Yep.
And I know we made good movement this year, but there is so much more to be done.
Mhm.
So, you know, a lot of those feelings, it's years and years of,
Understood.
oh, we'll get there and we don't. So,
And hopefully, you know, whether it's a part of our suspended agenda for our labor management meetings or whatnot, we will not let it fall to the wayside.
Yeah, I just want to say that, we appreciate all the collaboration.
Yeah.
And, Britt's doing an amazing job, really representing and eloquently expressing how this team feels.
Mhm.
So there are some items that we feel about the forces of nature that are outside this building, dealing with public education, that I think everyone in this room would agree that we need to fortify. And that's really what we're asking you guys to go back and take a look at. So we appreciate that.
Will do. Will do. All right. All right.
so we'll be in touch
Yes.
on, you know, Sherry left. She's gonna be my knight in shining armor or hero on the ratification process. So
Okay.
we'll be working on that, getting all the documents ready. Usually what I like to do is have all of the handwritten, you know, actual signed TAs scanned into a document
Mhm.
that we'll both have. And then we'll take some time to actually go through a clean document and enter everything in. So you see the strike
Strike
in
through.
addition.
Okay.
And we'll share that with you, just to, you know, review and make sure what you have is what we have. And those will
How
be part of our
long does the
ratification.
process normally take? Or what is your anticipated? 2025. All right.
I do not know. If Sherry were here, she would
Okay.
know a little bit better. I know it's, you know, we do it through,
Is it electronic?
what is it?
It's an
Yeah,
e-vote or
like
something that
e-vote.
you guys use?
Can't remember what the name of it. Is it VoteNet?
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay.
And it's been something that, you know, has been used for many, many years before I got here. And so
Okay.
Sherry and I'll be learning that process with her.
Okay.
So.
All right.